King Cyrus's fatherhood. At noon, Robert high, like only he could. The fables are bizarre but good. It's Myth Understood.
Meow.
Is that a cat dying?
Cat werewolf.
A cat werewolf?
Yeah.
Well, it was very convincing. I was concerned. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Myth Understood with me, Paul Bianchi, and her, Sarah Aller.
I am here.
Yeah. Yes, she is here. Sarah, I'm going to retell you this story because everyone needs to know this story.
What? Retell me what? We already did an episode on it?
No, I'm going to retell you like this life story that people must know.
Retell me my life story?
Nothing about your life story. Nothing about you.
It isn't about me.
I just wanted to tell them about Fuzzy.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, because this was something that occurred that I could not have predicted. This was
You should have seen it.
in hindsight, I was just in Palm Springs with Callum, and we were visiting some friends, and we went out for a karaoke night. I sang 3 songs. They were lovely.
Billy Joel.
It was all Billy Joel. It was.
Wait, no, I meant Billy Idol.
It was actually none of it was Billy Idol. You were right the first time. We didn't start. No,
Did you really?
No, I didn't do Billy Joel. No. What were the 3 songs I sang? I think it was. I started with "Say It Ain't So."
The classic of yours.
Yeah, and then I did "You'll Be Back" from Hamilton.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard you do that one.
And because it's so fun to be fake British in that song. And then the last one I think I did "Add It Up," but I was very drunk at that point.
Add it up.
But yeah, as we were leaving, we said goodbye to this lovely woman whose nickname was Fuzzy, and she gave me a hug and proceeded to lick the contour of my pectoral cleavage.
She Fuzzy Wuzzy was
Was a weird.
Fuzzy Wuzzy licked your chest beard.
She sure did. And it was sort of an interesting moment because I looked down, saw that what she was doing. She looked up at me and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that." Which I agree that she shouldn't have. But when that happens in the moment, my response is, "Oh, it's okay."
Yeah.
As if like, go ahead, keep doing that.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I shouldn't have done that because my wife is sitting over there.
Ah, yes.
So not an apology to me.
You're an object, Paul.
I am an object. I am what
But
Callum
her wife has
described.
feelings.
Yeah, Callum described me as an ice lolly.
You're an ice lolly.
Yeah.
And then you immediately FaceTimed me to regale me with this story.
Yeah, because you needed to know.
Your chest still glistening with saliva.
Yeah. Yep.
And you've never looked happier, truly.
Well, just because it was so weird.
Mm-hmm. But if you're out there,
I mean,
Fuzzball is her full Christian name. Just know that your wife
is watching.
So keep that tongue rolled up in your mouth.
Yes.
You horny.
Yes.
You horny wolf cartoon.
It occurs to me though that when I told you this, I said, "Yeah, I need to tell this to the Mythvits on Myth Understood," and you also had a story.
What? What's my story?
You also had a story that you were going to tell.
What?
But I forgot what it was at this point.
Well, why bring it up?
Well, I was because I was
story.
hoping that you had a story to share. I was assuming it was a story that had to do with your travels.
My travels. I mean, I performed one night full laryngitis. How about that?
It might have been that.
Was it that? Oh well. So there's this almost sort of weekend update ish segment that we do in the show. We do it twice. Little news break, and I was full laryngitis, so I hit maybe 20% of the notes of all the songs that entire night. Just absolutely squeaked, and my throat was really shot. And at the news break, I had just squeaked out like 3 songs right before that. I literally run backstage, change out of being Mitch McConnell, sprint right back on stage as myself. And Aaron and I, who is my co-anchor for that segment, we're doing the jokes, and we have these cards that we read off of. And I start to feel this tickle in my throat because I need to cough, but I'm mic'd up for this performance. So I'm like, I'm trying to keep it in, but the tickle grows worse and worse
Of course.
to the point where I'm reading off the stuff. And he's watching, he's just staring at me. And in my mind, I'm willing him, please just grab my cards and do the rest of my jokes. And I'm like just destroying this whole setup. And, you know, what if there's punchline? It's not coming out as well. And he just watches me. He just stares at me. I think he maybe gave me a light pat on the back. I was like, this doesn't help. And then it got to the point where my cough overtook my entire face that I couldn't release because I'm fully mic'd, you know? And my eyes start streaming tears from this like attack that I'm holding in, and to the point where I just had to close my eyes, and I'm reacting to Aaron's joke now, but I'm just kind of like, fully, my eyes closed, fully crying. I squeaked a few more things out, and I reamed him the rest of that trip of being like, I know that you will just watch me flop like a fish if I ever need you again.
I mean, if I was in his seat, I would have done the exact same thing.
You would have made it worse. Just the blown black
Sawdust.
pepper at me. But yes, obviously my laryngitis is gone, and I can now hit 30% of my notes
Oh,
because I'm a hack.
you know.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm leaving in the morning tomorrow for Denver. So see you guys. Well, by the time you hear this,
You'll already be back.
I'll be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in regards to today's episode, I have news about it.
What, you look like you're gonna break up with me.
I
won't allow it.
Well, in a way, it is kind of a breakup. We are soon to be breaking up with Egyptian mythology.
Good God.
Yeah, I have done what I feel is a very thorough search of things that are complete stories in Egyptian mythology, and I think today's the last myth. I'm fairly certain it's the last myth.
Wow.
Which means that Egyptian mythology is just going to tap out at 30 episodes. However, you know, I like to do a pop quiz, so it'll be the next episode after this one.
Fucking Christ.
But it's not a pop quiz because I'm telling you about it. It's just a quiz.
It's a pop-up of sorts.
Yeah. It's something you want to click out of.
Yeah.
But today's episode, this one was actually really hard to research for. Because I found a list of like, these are like every single story in Egyptian mythology, and I was sort of referencing this list when coming up with the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one on the list was the Egyptian apocalypse.
Jesus, I didn't know they had
like a Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yeah.
Yeah. And I was really
Okay.
excited about it because I was like, oh, I can't wait to do the research on that one. I can't wait to find the information about it.
Yeah.
Underwhelming.
Aw.
That's the thing. But there is something about it that's really fun, and that's what I'm leaning into for today's story.
What a fucking lead up. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right, guys, crank your volume for the most underwhelming episode yet, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of the research I was able to do, despite how sparse it was.
Wow. And do you think the limitations here are just like the destruction of the Egyptian history? Because it's such a long and storied culture.
That could be part of it. I think that it is so lengthy. It's also they were writing things on papyrus. They would bring the papyrus to more less dry climates, and suddenly the papyrus would begin to rot,
Yeah.
and so that's definitely a part of it. But when it comes to the Egyptian apocalypse, it's more of like a theory as opposed to like something that's a full myth.
The
And
fuck?
and the story behind it, the book, the papyrus that's attached to it, is entitled "The Book of Overthrowing Apophis." Do you remember Apophis?
Hell no.
Okay,
Let's
so
start that pop quiz strong.
yeah, so Apophis or Apep is the great serpent enemy of the sun god Ra. Ra,
Oh, more Ragnarok shit.
Ra on his nightly voyage confronts and battles Apep along with Isis, Bastet, Sekhmet, Neith, and as you added when we talked about this the first time, many Drew Barrymores.
Yes.
Yeah. No
It's
matter.
been so long with all our Drew Barrymores. Do you think the reason that we brought her up is why she got her own show?
I think so. I think that we single-handedly or dual-handedly rejuvenated Drew Barrymore's career. No matter how many times Apophis was defeated or killed, he always rose again to life, because during the day, as the sun god sailed slowly across the sky, taking his goddamn time, Apophis regenerated and was ready again by dusk to resume the war. So specifically, illustrated in a text known as the Book of Gates, Apophis is restrained in nets held down by monkeys. The sons of Horus. I know the thing is happening to me that you just described.
Yeah, the coffee tickle.
The little tickle. I'm going to start crying. The sons of Horus and the great earth god Geb all hold Apophis down, where he is then chopped into pieces.
What did this little snake boy ever do?
He wants to destroy the world. Every night he wants to. It's his,
I get it if this is the cycle.
The next night, though, the serpent is whole again, waiting for the bark to reach him and fight the sun again. And the bark, by the way, is a type of ship.
Okay.
Yeah. So Apophis is immortal and is said to have existed swimming in the waters of the primordial Nun before time, space, and land existed. He exists only as a great evil, and his agenda is to defeat Ra and prevent sunrise from ever happening again, thus triggering the apocalypse.
And then what? He just goes and snakes around the universe?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
what's his motivation?
He
just evilness.
Just evilness, yeah. He's just the representation of evil and chaos and darkness.
But if I'm like a snake that can slither around and, just go eat planets, like, I don't know, the 9,000th time that I get chopped in little bits, maybe I go, all right, I move on.
You're saying that, like, you would do something different, like if you were the snake in the duat, you would be like, hey, how about tonight we just play a game?
Or no, I would just leave. I would slither off into, and eat another planet.
I think that he's imprisoned in the duat.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, there's not really a myth or a fable associated with this act. Just a belief that this apocalypse can happen on any given night.
Yeah.
On any given night when the sun goes down. Gosh, I hope
it's going down.
I hope Ra defeats Apep again.
Wow. Who gets any sleep with a thought like that?
Yeah. The first sign of Apophis's victory would come with the defeat of either Sekhmet or Bastet, because they are considered the fiercest of Ra's protectors. Her death is in the beginning of the end. Without his mighty cat goddess, Ra quickly falls after, and the next morning, rather than a sunrise, the people of Egypt are greeted by a gigantic serpent crawling out of the darkness, and the floodwaters of Nun returning to drown every living thing in her waters.
I've seen this in real life.
You've been to Florida also?
No, when I lived in Arizona, we lived in a mobile home, and so like the floor doesn't touch the actual ground. There's space in between, and I came home from school one day, and my cat was slapping something under that was coming out of like the bathroom sink.
Mhm.
And I was like, "What the hell? What are you doing, Aubrey?" And I walk up and he's just batting the shit out of the snake.
That's just like coming out of the what? The
Yeah,
sink?
and I'm just like screaming. So I've seen the cat god slap the snake around. I've seen it in person.
Well, that's great. So in reading that this could be that like this is the end, it was very quick. Like in the research, I also quickly discovered that like writers were saying that Egyptians are proponents of life cycles and are very used to the flooding and receding of the Nile.
Mm.
So they likely believe that it wouldn't be a complete apocalypse, but rather like, okay, yeah, Nun would start the world anew after flooding and killing everything and just being like, okay, let's start again.
And then the snake would still go bye-bye.
Snake would still go bye-bye.
Just
yeah.
let it happen then.
Yeah. Well, but everyone would die.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that the Egyptians wanted to happen. And as the power in Egypt began to wane, the people of Egypt felt it was more likely that this apocalypse, either temporary or permanent, would happen. Some writers speculate that Egyptians valued their specific definition of individuality. For they lived in a world where there was a sun, the moon, every river, the air, the land, everything was an individual god. And every person had a spirit that was separate that could be eternal or destroyed in the duat.
Oh.
Conversely, and this is what, like I'm taking this directly from one of the writers, conversely, monotheism promoted this idea of one God and his creations, a shepherd and his flock. And so Egyptians saw monotheism as a challenge to their individuality and as a sign of chaos and a weapon of Apep. They viewed this trend of other nations around them of being less individualistic and saw this as a threat, which was also maybe what contributed to them being militaristic as well.
Mm.
So not to just let this happen, the Egyptians felt that they had a calling from the gods to support them in their nightly defeat of Apep. Hathor's festival became very popular. It was that festival where people were encouraged to drink in excess, reenacting the time.
Yeah, that helps you in war.
Well, because it reenact the time of disorder and destruction when Sekhmet nearly destroyed humanity, and drinking in excess gives her strength and reverence so that she would survive the battle and keep Ra safe.
She's a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, she needs her dranky drank. But one of the more interesting texts to come out of this time is the Book of Overthrowing Apophis. It's basically
Well, that's all you need.
Yeah, it's basically a book of spells and activities that one can do every day to weaken Apophis.
This is fun.
Yeah.
See, if all religions had like, spooky things that make you, like a part of saving the world.
Yeah.
It's just a good idea.
Well, I have for your enjoyment some of the spells. And I will say some of the spells because I read a lot of this. It is so very repetitive, but it's also very fun.
Is any of it bearing horse manure?
Bearing horse manure? Why would that be a thing?
More tales of the boonies in Arizona. After Vanessa and I watched The Craft as, second graders, we tried to do our own spells, but all there was horse shit around. So we were like, this is what we do. We bury the horse manure.
Oh, no, there's a lot more fire in this.
No, we didn't set the horse.
And a lot of reciting things. Always 4 times, too.
Oh, some OCD.
So, yeah. So the book begins with this phrase. Here begins the book of felling Apep. Spell number 1. The spell of spitting on Apep.
Awesome.
Recite, be thou spat upon, O Apep, 4 times.
Am I doing it?
Yeah, be thou spat upon, O Apep.
2 more.
Be thou spat upon, O Apep. Be thou spat upon, O Apep.
I just made you a witch.
You just made me a witch. Spell number 2. The spell of trampling on Apep with the left foot.
Left foot?
Yeah.
That's not my good foot.
Well, that's what you got to use.
All right.
Recite, raise thee up, O Ra, and crush thy foes. Shine thou out, O Ra, for thy foes are fallen.
Wow.
Behold, Pharaoh crushes all thy foes for thee. O Ra, crush thou all his foes, dead or alive. Behold, Ra has power over thee, O Apep. His flame rages against thee. It has power over thee. Its fiery blast is sharp against thee, and its fire falls on all the foes of Ra. 4 times.
No, absolutely not. I'm only spitting on him.
They had a lot of time.
That's way too wordy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first one was the shortest one.
Jesus.
Spell number 3. The spell of taking the spear to smite Apep. Recite. Horus has taken his spear of iron. He has battered the heads of the foes of Ra. Horus has taken his spear of iron. He has battered the heads of the foes of Pharaoh. Behold, Horus has taken his spear of iron.
Jeez.
He has smitten the heads of the rebels in front of his bark. Raise thee up, O Ra, chastise him who rebels against thee, and cut Apep into pieces, that the confederacy of the ill-disposed one may fall. Fire is in thee, its flame is in thee, fire is in you, ye foes of Pharaoh, and it shall devour you. Set fire to Apep, he is bitten in the middle of his back.
What?
4 times.
That's a good one for like, I could see an Egyptian priest saying that one really impassioned. That's kind of got the brimstone and fire feeling to it. But I didn't know Apep was a Confederate. It makes him much more evil. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah.
Don't tread on me. Oh my God, he's that snake.
He is that snake.
Holy shit.
That is Apep. So I didn't transpose all of these, but I'm just letting you know. Spell number 4 is the spell of binding Apep. Spell number 5 is the spell of taking the knife to smite Apep. Spell number 6 is the spell of setting fire to Apep. All of these are very, very similar to specifically spell number 3, with that like repeat the thing. Like it's always about, this is what Ra is going to do. This is what the Pharaoh is going to do. This is how we're going to protect Ra. This is how we're going to protect the Pharaoh. This is how we're also going to smite our enemies, but also smite Apep.
You know what I think? So much of every religion, I wonder if like most the people that created religious rituals and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think this could be a thing. A lot of it is like tenets of OCD. There's like it's bad luck and future telling, and it's like part of mental illness, being like, oh, if I don't touch this handle 4 times, then my daughter's gonna drown. Like, people have those really, really intrusive thoughts, and I wonder if like the creators of a lot of these things going way back were people inflicted with those things, and they're just great charismatic public speakers.
It could be that, yeah.
Because it's especially like superstition and all of that. Like it's
I do think
pretty
that,
heavily in OCD.
I do think though that like a lot of, yeah, definitely for sure, a lot of the like spell work in general, like when you read these books on spells, it is about like the repetition and repetition causing manifestation to occur. Or manifestation. Spell number 7. The magic spell to be uttered when putting Apep on the fire. Specifically, this one involves an image of Apep produced on papyrus in green ink, then covered in wax and dropped in a fire.
This is just wasteful.
And this one is shorter.
There's no way papyrus was easy to make back then.
No, it was this. There's a lot of waste of papyrus in this. It's, be thou utterly spat upon, O Apep.
More spitting.
I shall stomp upon thee with my left foot.
Again. Okay.
So then it leads into the longest spell, which is the spell of felling Apep. It begins.
Do you need a drink of water?
No. I'm so excited for this one. There's so much fun shit in this one. It begins with, fall on thy face, O Apep. Get thee back, thou enemy. Thou rebel who hast neither arms nor legs, or thy snout shall be cut off from the rest of thy face. Thy raging
Snout? What fucking snake has a snout?
This one does. Apep does.
Okay.
Thy raging is dispelled by Isis through the spells of her utterance. Thy soul is cut up, thy vertebrae are severed. Horus has made thee impotent.
What snake
Isis-
has a vertebrae?
Snakes have vertebrae.
Aren't they invertebrates?
Invertebrates? No, they have they are vertebrates. They have vertebrae.
Do they really?
Yeah.
They're just so bendy.
They are very bendy. Isis repels thee, Nephthys cuts thee up, and the great Aeneid, which is in the prow of the bark of Ra, drives thee off. Seth has stabbed at thy neck. And after more of that, that's like there's literally like a full page of that. They write Apep's name on papyrus, they throw it in the fire. And then they say, "Fall upon your faces, ye foes of Ra."
What is this face planting fantasy?
All ye rebels, foes, and children of revolt. Fall ye at the moment of Ra, he will annihilate you. Fell you, and make you fall on your heads.
What is this?
On your faces. That's a separate part. He will destroy you, making a slaughter of you. Ye who ought to be annihilated, be ye annihilated, be ye destroyed. Ye who have not shall possess not, ye shall not exist, ye shall not be, your heads shall be removed, your necks shall be hewn asunder, your vertebrae shall be severed. Ye shall be made impotent, ye shall be slaughtered in the name of Sekhmet. May ye not be, may Tot make conjuration against you with his magic. Ra shall make thee impotent, Isis shall fetter thee.
Wait, now we're talking about his dick? His snake dick?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No, we're talking about the right now we're talking about the enemies of the pharaoh.
Oh, this is an Apep.
Yeah, this is all of their enemies. Yeah.
Okay, may none of you, all you limp dip motherfuckers, come my way. You're gonna face plant.
Nephthys shall bind thee. The spells of Tot shall destroy thee. Thy soul shall be not among the souls anymore. Thy corpse shall be not at the head of the corpses. For the fire shall bite thee, and the flame devour thee. The furnace shall be satisfied with thee. And there are pages and pages of that. As the spell draws to a close, they waste another precious sheet of papyrus, drawing the image of Apep in green ink, and then writing the names of all of their enemies beneath it, and then that gets thrown into the fire.
It's gotta feel kind of therapeutic, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap up this part of the discussion with some passages I found from history.org because I thought it summed up the true demise of ancient Egyptian beliefs nicely. The rituals surrounding the overthrow of Apep/Apophis represented the eternal struggle between good and evil, order and chaos, light and darkness, and relied upon the daily attention and the efforts of human beings to succeed. Humanity then was not just passive recipients of gifts of the gods, but a vital component in the operation of the universe.
That's nice.
The understanding was maintained and these rituals observed until the rise of Christianity in 4th century Common Era. At this
I'm sure they respected everything they found.
Yeah. At this time, the old model of humanity as co-workers with the gods was replaced by a new one in which human beings were fallen creatures, unworthy of their deity, and utterly dependent upon their god son and his sacrifice for their salvation.
It's healthier.
Yeah. Humans were now considered the recipients of a gift they had not earned and did not deserve, and the sun lost its distinct personality and purpose to become another one of God's creations. Apophis, however, would live on in Christian iconography and mythology, merged with other deities as Set and the benign serpent Sata as the adversary of God, Satan, who worked tirelessly to overturn divine order and bring about chaos.
Wait, Apep is Satan?
Yeah, it was sort of the way, as Christianity spread, there's a lot of instances of Christianity reaching a culture and them being like, well, we're smiting this snake demon, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Satan. So don't worry, you're already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a way that helped it spread really easily because
Right.
I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, if we can keep doing what we're doing, then we'll keep doing it.
Equivalencies, yeah.
Yeah. Um, what's but yeah, the Christianity, because then that made me look up like, oh yeah, but Egypt is so Muslim now, and the so for those interested in that, the Muslim conquest of Egypt took place between 639 and 646 AD, um, and it ended 7 centuries of a Christian Egypt, where when Rome was in charge of it, basically.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that it had that long of Christianity.
yeah, which was sort of surprising.
Wow.
Um, the other thing that doing this research made me look up and think about was basically when I was reading aloud the curses against the enemies of Egypt. I was like, well, who are the enemies of Egypt? And if they're doing this closer to the the change from BC to CE, that like
What's CE?
the Common Era, or it's also known as AD,
Oh, okay.
um that like when they say rebels, when they say it makes me think of like, oh, are they talking about the Jewish people?
Mm-hmm.
Is that and so then I was thinking about,
Yeah, they're pretty left out of all of these stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking about the well, like you remember with the episode we did on the ruse of Joppa, that like Joppa is in a sort of Judeo area, or where that area was, where Joppa was. And so that was them quelling a rebellion, probably from Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was interested in looking up was like in the timeline of things, where like which pharaoh is likely the one who's referenced or used as the inspiration for the pharaoh in the book of Exodus. Um, and I don't know if you've had any thoughts on that.
I have no thoughts
You have no
in
thoughts.
general.
Well, so what I seem to what I remembered, because I'm not, like, I've only seen, like, I saw The Prince of Egypt once. I've never watched The Ten Commandments, but apparently in both of those movies,
Mm-hmm.
it's Ramses
Right.
is the pharaoh.
Yeah.
And what I read was that the um the reason that they choose Ramses to represent him in these stories is because in the Bible, Ramses is represented as a place. Like it's specifically referenced. Um, but that would place him in like 1200 BC. And what I found was there's another pharaoh named um Bakken Ranef, who was around in 725 to 720 BC, which like makes more sense to me in terms of it being sooner, uh or being a having occurred later, because like, we just know that everything gets lost, everything falls
Yeah.
apart. And it was written that by Tacitus, um like a Greek historian, that Bakenranef expelled the Jewish people from Egypt because there was a horrible disease that caused boils and disfigurement, and he blamed it on the Jewish people and like
Mm.
cast them out. And that just feels like a really, like, that feels like something that would have been written about by them and then become part of the story. So anyway, if that's something that interests you as listeners, and you have theories or thoughts, please like message me on Discord, and um let's talk about that, because I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, I didn't realize we didn't know which pharaoh it was.
Yeah, it's, well, because it's like historians are like, this is a story that was inspired by a lot of stories, or if you're the sort of uh, Bible scholar who reads and is like, no, this definitely happened. It just he has no name in the story. His name is just Pharaoh.
Crazy.
Or no, that's wrong. I think it's Haman in the story. But it's not someone who's recognized as being an actual pharaoh. So like
Oh.
so people like try to line up actual history with these with the stories in the Bible because
And what's the timeline of the Egyptians enslaving the Jews?
it's sort of spotty because it's such a large area that it's not like it was like one pharaoh of Egypt enslaved an entire population of Jewish people like in conclusively across the entire kingdom. It was like it would have happened like more of like city to city.
Okay.
And one of the thoughts is that period that's being referenced happened around 600 BC in when the city of the kingdom of Judah fell and they had to like go south and find a new area, and the Egyptians were like, yeah, you can come here as long as you're our slaves,
But that's 600.
yeah.
But who helped build the who were forced to build the pyramids? It's not Jewish people?
It probably was a mix of like it was whoever wasn't in power, so it was Jewish people, but it was probably also um other people not in power in the in that time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of talking out of my ass and using suppositions right now because I haven't done that full research. But
Yeah.
this is where it would be great to have an Egyptologist in who has all the answers to these questions.
Why aren't there more of those hanging out with us in LA?
I don't know why. Yeah, well, because there is a famous Egyptologist who has my dad's name.
No, I didn't. What do you mean? I know that. I don't know that.
I thought I mentioned that in like the first episode of when we talked
well,
about.
I hope that's not in the quiz.
I'm pretty sure there's one named like Robert Bianchi who is an Egyptologist.
Make him come here.
I should.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's very interesting. He's also I'm pretty sure he's like in his 70s and
I love him.
yeah. He would be such a delight doing all of our improvs that we do.
Yeah, let's force an elderly historian
to make fart jokes.
to make fart jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting and that's cool. It's so funny how there's so many overlaps in every like apocalypse story for every culture.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's
how
a
many
little bit
cultures
of,
hate snakes.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, they're so creepy. You're not gonna have arms.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking freak. There's no evil lizards, and a lizard's just a snake with arms.
That's true. Yeah.
But no one gives a shit. Just like, look at that lizard run around. Well, I guess they're also not venomous, so.
Yeah.
Except the
venomous lizard.
Yeah, what's that guy?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Oh, people are gonna scream at us for this. The big guy.
Oh, the like Komodo dragon?
Aren't they venomous?
Oh, I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a dragon.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, the world ain't gonna end because we did those spells. Good job. Now let's all go bury some horse poop. Now left foot up and stomp and stomp and stomp on that snake. That's right. Now we're turning our bodies. We're spitting. We're spitting. Keep spitting, girls. Keep spitting, ladies. We're stopping the apocalypse.
You've heard about it. All your friends are talking about it. The coolest, greatest way to stay in shape and smite Apep, the bringer of chaos in the apocalypse. It's felling Apep workout.
And take that knife and lift it up and bring it down to the duat. Take that knife. Watch out there, Sandy. Don't hurt yourself.
I almost stabbed myself.
Okay. And make this twist and twist and twist, and impotence is the goal. to our enemies.
I have been working out in this class for 3 days, and I already feel like I have averted the apocalypse.
That's right. You get a 2-week membership, and if you don't feel like you are helping the Niles keep flooding, then your money back.
I also love your store, Pam.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I come here to do the workouts again. Yeah, I don't want any papyrus burned. That's why I'm part of the felling of Apex class. Yeah,
Impotence. Well, hey. Thanks for joining me for this. Me.
You?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
Thanks for joining me. And thanks for joining Sarah.
I was never real.
She was never real. She disappeared. For this this last myth of Egypt mythology.
Unless
we
write new ones.
Unless we write new ones, yeah. Please be a friend.
Good job, Paul. This was a fun grouping of tales. My favorite was when people were hippos.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do feel
I thought
like
you meant on today's episode. I was like, oh, I don't remember that happening. I just remember people falling on their faces.
Oh shit, we left that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Any culture that just wants people to faceplant, I really identify with.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's most of my YouTube searches.
True. Yeah. So if you enjoy our show and you want to follow us on social media, you can always find us at _mythunderstood. You can find Sarah at the Sarah Oliver. You can find me at the Paul Bianchi, and you can find our daddy network at It's Dragon Wagon.
Daddy.
Yeah, daddy. Please, specifically, yeah, because of my request for this episode, if you found any of that sort of history, discovering, speculation interesting, or you're like, guess what? I wrote a thesis on this and I have all the answers. Please share that by joining our Discord community and shouting at me on that platform.
Scream in his face. And if you guys have any other mythologies you are dying for us to dive into, go ahead and shoot them our way. We have an idea of what's coming up next, but we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. Please also continue to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and continue being just lovely gems of
Perfect
people.
Little angels, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. Do your spells.
Night-night.
Night-night.
Hey everybody, Jake here from Dragon Wagon Radio, and I'm here with Mark E. Extreme and Skeeter Skyflyer.
Did you just have to read that? Okay, I mean,
yeah.
how could you possibly not know who I am? Because my name is Mark Extreme, 15 plus years undefeated backyard wrestling entertainment champion and owner and the host of On Your Mark. So I'm offended that you don't know who I am, and I'm here with the shit on my shoulder.
And Skeeter Skyflyer. I mean, a lot of people don't know me, but it makes sense that people don't know you too.
Look, everybody, I'm a pretty big deal, okay?
Well, I mean no disrespect, Mr. Extreme, I assure you, but you mentioned you have a podcast on the network called On Your Mark. What exactly is On Your Mark?
On Your Mark is the best wrestling podcast on the airwaves. Every Wednesday, we are deep diving into wrestling topics, like giving you a perspective like you've never heard before, because there's nobody that can give you a perspective like I can.
Well, a lot of people could give the perspective that you give on wrestling, but they're busy being wrestlers and being really successful in the ring and working and being in front of millions of people every week on television and in a crowd.
There's nothing different.
All right, I think I get what's happening. It's comedy. You guys are just doing a bit. Mark, you're like every 90s wrestling kid stuck in the past. And Skeeter, you're like the idiot little brother type who just loves everything, no matter how cheesy it is. I get it. You're playing characters. You guys are like a pro wrestling version of Jiminy Glick or Tony Clifton.
Well, I don't know who the hell those guys are. And, frankly, I'm kind of offended because I take this business very seriously, and there's nothing funny about what we do, right, Skeeter?
That's right. So tune in every Wednesday. A new episode drops weekly, covering new topics on onyourmarkshow.com. Also, wherever you're listening to your podcast right now.
Dragon Wagon.